All right, so let's start with the big story that we are tracking on WION this hour. Now, the American President Joe Biden's outgoing administration is still hopeful of reaching some kind of a ceasefire deal in the Gaza Strip, even as the key negotiator Qatar has said that it will suspend its mediation until both Israel and Hamas show their willingness and determination to negotiate in good faith for a settlement. The U.S. State Department has said that Washington is continuing to pursue a number of initiatives to secure the release of hostages, and it has not given up hope.
We're continuing to pursue a number of initiatives to secure the release of hostages. That work is ongoing. We have not given up hope, and it's critical to us to get a deal done as soon as possible, especially so that we can bring the remaining hostages home to their families.
And in other developments, the United States has said that it has not made an assessment that the state of Israel is in violation of international law after Israel made some changes to address the demands that were laid out in a letter from Washington last month to improve the humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip. The State Department has said that Washington would like to see more changes to happen. Meanwhile, a top UN official has condemned Israeli daily bombardment of the Gaza Strip, describing its acts reminiscent of being the gravest of international crimes that are being committed. Now, speaking to the Security Council, the interim chief of the United Nations Humanitarian Agency said that civilians are being driven from their homes and are being forced to witness their family members get killed, burnt alive and buried alive in the Gaza Strip because of the Israeli bombardment.
Essential commercial goods and services, including electricity, have been all but cut off. This has led to increasing hunger, starvation, and now, as we have heard, potentially famine. We are witnessing acts reminiscent of the gravest international crimes.
Now, 2 people were killed in northern Israel's Nahariya town after a building was hit in a rocket attack. The ambulances arrived at the scene where the building was set on fire after the rocket attack, and the Israeli army claims that a barrage of about 10 rockets were fired from Lebanon. They were partially intercepted, and the impact was felt in different locations. Now, on the other hand, an Israeli strike targeting a town in south of Beirut's Chof region has killed at least about 12 people. The Lebanon's health ministry has said that the raid hit a building that housed people who were displaced in the Israel-Hezbollah war. A large explosion also lit up the night sky in southern Beirut, igniting a huge fire and sending plumes of smoke into the air. Now, at least about 3,000 people in Lebanon have been killed in the Israeli bombings in just the last few weeks. Furthermore, American forces have also carried out strikes against targets linked to an Iranian-backed militia in Syria in response to a rocket attack on Washington's troops in the country. Now, according to the U.S. CENTCOM, the strikes targeted the group's weapons storage and logistics headquarters facility in response to a rocket attack on U.S. personnel. Meanwhile, Yemen's Houthi fighters have said that they targeted a U.S. aircraft carrier, Abraham Lincoln, and 2 U.S. destroyers in the Arabian Sea. Now, the group's military spokesperson has said that the rebels successfully bombarded the aircraft carrier with a number of cruise missiles, while the Pentagon has confirmed that at least about 8 drones and 5 anti-ship ballistic missiles and 3 anti-ship cruise missiles were aimed at the USS Stockdale and the USS Spruance on Monday. It further has added that the vessels shot down the projectiles and were not damaged. However, the Pentagon press secretary has clarified that he was not aware of any attacks on the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln.
نفذت القوة الصاروخية The Yemeni Armed Forces, Missile Force and drone units carried out two significant military operations. The first operation targeted the American aircraft carrier Abraham, located in the Arabian Sea, using several cruise missiles and drones. This action took place as the American enemy was preparing to carry out hostile operations against our country.
On November 11th, U.S. Central Command forces successfully repelled multiple Iranian-backed Houthi attacks during a transit of the Bab al-Mandeb Strait. During the transit, the Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer USS Stockdale and USS Spruance were attacked by at least 8 one-way attack uncrewed aerial systems, 5 anti-ship ballistic missiles, and 3 anti-ship cruise missiles, which were successfully engaged and defeated.
All right, now to give us more updates in terms of what is happening, we're joined by WION's correspondent from Israel, Jody Cohen, who's joining us live from Ra'anana at this moment. Jody, now the Biden administration has said that in its assessment, the state of Israel is not in violation of international law or the amount of humanitarian aid that is going into the Gaza Strip, even though there are many humanitarian groups that have described the conditions in the Gaza Strip to be apocalyptic. So at this point of time, do we know how much humanitarian aid is being allowed into the Gaza Strip?
Hi, Mohammed. So Israel says and has been saying throughout this war that there is no limit on the amount of aid that can enter the Strip. Now, the Biden administration had conditioned military aid for Israel on humanitarian aid for Gaza. Israel's Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer met with Secretary of State Antony Blinken and updated him on steps Israel has taken to increase aid. Now, we know that Israeli spokesperson David Mentzer has called accusations of famine the latest libel against Israel. He suggested that the UN is failing in its job of distributing aid, that Hamas steals much of the aid and gets, he said, its apologists at the UN to echo Hamas's accusations on demand. And there are reports that suggest that Washington has decided that the level of military aid to Israel would continue as a result. Meanwhile, President Trump has appointed Governor Mike Huckabee as the new U.S. ambassador to Israel. Former Ambassador David Friedman has called Huckabee one of Israel's greatest friends and said that his appointment tells us that the days of daylight, public daylight, he said, between the U.S. and Israel are about to end.
All right, now the Biden administration, which is on its way out, says that it still has hope that there can be a ceasefire and a hostage release deal before the Biden administration's term comes to an end. But the state of Qatar, one of the crucial mediators, has pulled out saying that neither Israel nor Hamas are mediating in good faith. So what is the latest on efforts for a potential ceasefire deal and also a deal for the release of hostages?
Right, so in the latest on Lebanon, Dermer discussed efforts to reach a ceasefire with Secretary of State Blinken and US envoy for Lebanon, Amos Hochstein. And Hochstein told reporters that there is a shot to secure a ceasefire. He's hopeful, and that the US is now waiting to hear back from Lebanon. On Gaza, families of the 7 American hostages being held in Gaza met with Biden administration officials. They're also hoping to meet with some of Trump's recently announced appointees, and they're calling on Presidents Trump and Biden to work together to reach a deal before inauguration. And on Iran, Prime Minister Netanyahu has posted a video addressed to the people of Iran. He told them that Iran's latest attack on Israel wasted $2.3 billion of Iranian taxpayers' money. He said that the people of Israel and Iran don't want this war, and that another attack on Israel would cripple Iran's economy. And the message could also be seen as a warning that if Iran strikes Israel again, Israel's response would cause significant economic damage. Now, Netanyahu said that the one thing that Khamenei's regime fears more than Israel is the Iranian people, and suggested that Israel and others in the free world stand with the people of Iran against the Iranian regime. So there's obviously things going on, negotiations going on, talks happening, but it remains to be seen what happens with the ceasefire in Gaza, in Lebanon, and of course if Iran will strike Israel again.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Jody Cohen, for joining us. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.